All right, doing an update video. Um, well, my cat died, I guess, or will soon be put to sleep. Um, I made a video with her in it a long time ago. Uh, Jinxie. I think she's 18. I don't remember exactly, but I think she's about 18. And still moving well, but um, got cancer. And it's not good. I mean, it's not, it's just suffering at this point. So I'm not a big fan of needless suffering. I don't know if you know that, but um, I'm not a big fan of unnecessary suffering. You know, we all our bodies are programmed to feel pain um, based on, it's our own alarm system. And if there's some trauma to certain areas, you'll feel it. And I think it's to help us be aware that we need to manually do something, because the body is always trying to survive and it's always trying to repair itself. Um, as you age, the ability to do so slows down, decreases, but it still is wired to keep going. And sometimes it needs help. Sometimes it's just not. It can't quite do it. That's why it has alarm systems. But pain is really unpleasant, and it can, depending on what the problem is, it can become very unpleasant. I mean, like different types of pain, sometimes it gets dialed up really bad and, unbearably so. But, and that's not fun. You could say, well, even the body is not really efficiently designed, because sometimes you're just trapped in pain and you can't do anything about it, and it doesn't turn off. There's no way to shut it off. Um, so that's that's a tough part about life, and you can't change the engineering of the body, but you have a body, and each person has their own body, and so you have to take a responsibility for your own body. And unfortunately, we have these societies where you're pushed through a lot of things, and these things are not necessarily helpful for your own health, your own well being. Um, a lot of times they require you to sacrifice your own health, um, for what? I don't know. Um, my situation is an unfortunate reality, that exists in our society where I did my job. I was the best. I think I was the best at it, for my particular field, digital printing, and I was an operator of the machines. And after 15 years, my body decided it can't do it anymore, and I've been stuck in chronic pain for a few years now. Um, at its worst point, it was, you know, impossible. Like I couldn't really even talk about it. It was so bad, and I didn't, I didn't really know that that was possible. I mean, I kind of felt in my 20s, I felt like I was getting weaker, and I felt like something wasn't quite right, but I was still able to perform. I was still able to do my job, and I kind of assessed my own risk. And, I thought I was okay. I didn't think this could happen. I thought maybe something might happen, but not quite this amount of pain. Um, so for the past 2 years and 2 months, I've been rehabilitating, um, daily, trying to get my body to come back, or whatever I can get to come back. And I've been pushing through pain. Um, Basically, stretching, physical therapy, um, with severe pain, um, pushing my body beyond its limits, um, forcing it to adapt so that my muscles hold me differently, because the configuration that my muscles are holding me is not correct, and it's not helpful. The tissue, the connective tissue, and the fascia and the muscles adapt based on um, what you do, and also if you have trauma to the area, if you have injuries, if you have um, nerve entrapment or some kind of pressure on the nerve, irritation of the nerve, the muscle tissue surrounding starts to um, go into antalgia mode. It's trying to stabilize you and keep the pressure off the nerve, but sometimes it's not working. So you just have this stuck feeling, and all the pain that comes with the muscles being out of position, out of alignment, and the atrophy that is happening because of this, the huge imbalance going on. And I didn't find any resources to really point me in the right direction. The only one I found was, um, Ed McLaughlin and his two siblings in Florida that made me help me to see, help me to look at it from a different perspective, a more ideal perspective on the health of the spine and what the goal is long term. Rather than treating symptoms, they try to treat you ideally for restoring your body to optimal health. And that takes time. There's no other way around it. But without that resource, I would be still, I mean, I wouldn't really know conceptually how to approach this. I still would have to push through pain and try to go by feel. But, having a strategy, having a tool for overcoming this long term battle is, you know, very significantly helpful in itself, for the mental aspect of You know, when you're stuck in chronic pain, it's both physical and mental battle, because psychologically it is very difficult to carry pain for long periods of time. You have to have some kind of mentality that helps you get through it. And, you know, for me, I already have had to face tough mental battles. And in this case, it's still very difficult if I don't have a strategy in mind. It doesn't matter that I have mental toughness. If I don't know how to approach this long term, I don't know what I'm trying to accomplish, then I'm still spinning, I'm still spinning in circles and trying to figure out what am I supposed to do. So, McLaughlin Chiropractic is what put me on the right track conceptually, so that I could actually do the work and have purpose and intent behind what I'm doing. And I'm still aware that it's a long-term battle, and there's no guarantees that it works. I don't know exactly what the problem is. Our medical system is still very weak at identifying and diagnosing the source of the problem, which I would think would be step one. If you're going to try to solve a problem, you need to know what it is. But it's still a big guessing game, and the imaging seems to be only used to determine whether or not you're a candidate for surgery, and it's not really trying to find the source of your problem. Now, the MRI itself is not detailed enough to be able to find everything. But there's no real diagnostic process in place to use everything to try to pinpoint the source of the problem, which there should be, in my opinion. You need to be able to identify a problem before you can solve it. Otherwise, it's just, it's all over the place, and people are, maybe this will work, maybe not. It's just a big gamble, It's not really smart. But in any case, for me, the strategy is the same. I'm trying to keep forcing my body to adjust, stretching into the pain, into the stuck spots, and try to get it to give it back to me. Getting blood flow to the area and holding long stretches. Day by day, and see what happens. And the other unfortunate thing is my pending disability case. So in order to seek out treatments that are expensive, I need some sort of income, and I applied for disability, and I have waited a long time just to get a court date. They deny you right off the bat, and then you appeal, and then they deny you again. That's what happened to me. Like, there was no interaction with anyone. They just deny you through the mail. And then I went to, I had to appeal again to get a court hearing, and that hearing is set for April 23rd. And from what I understand, the process is after the hearing, whatever the judge determines has to get reviewed by a final panel where the decision is made on the case, and I get it the results in the mail approximately 2 months after the court date, which will make a 1 year, 7 month waiting period just to hear a decision on my disability case, for which the odds of success are just under 50%. So that's the process, is you have to apply, wait, and hope that the evidence you provide is sufficient enough. And they don't tell you what evidence would be sufficient. If you have chronic pain that comes from the spine, or, the spinal pain is usually the worst type of pain, I would guess, unless you have definite trauma to some area, some kind of obvious injury. But if you have pain in the spine, it can be very severe, and it can cause a whole bunch of problems, internal, external organs, and stiffness. And the stiffness itself creates more pain in different areas. So but how do you prove that that is what you have? I don't know. I mean, you have MRIs, which can show disc injury, can show disc herniations, and that would be an indicator there's something going on. But that in itself is not necessarily proof of pain. So what does sufficient evidence look like? I have a videotape session going to see Edward McLaughlin in Florida. And to me, that is the absolute best evidence that can be provided with the state of our medical system. Whether or not the judge finds that sufficient, or the panel above the judge finds that sufficient, we will find out. But in any case, waiting a year and 7 months for the help that I've needed badly, is seems like a cruel process. That Social Security is something I was born into as a citizen of this country. And Social Security disability insurance is something I paid into with my body by doing my job and paying my taxes. So I already put the money in, and now they're holding it and telling me to wait and forcing me to prove that I need that money back and I need help. So that's the way it works. Now, I don't know of anybody that thinks that process is good. So I don't know why it exists, or why it's not being changed or made to be more efficient. I would think if you need help, you should be getting help as quick as possible. The details can be sorted out later, but when you're in severe pain and you need to get out of it, forcing somebody to wait and wait and wait is unacceptable. If I didn't have my parents to come back to and, basically get food, clothing, shelter taken care of, I would be out of money. I would be homeless, and I would be in severe pain at the same time, and I would be totally stuck and dependent on the system that exists, which again is weak and inefficient. And there's no good reason for this, in my view. Problems can be solved. People know how to solve them, but they don't. Anyways, the good news is that I have made some progress. It is not as severe as it was. I'm still useless and, I'm still unable to work. I can only work on things for 5-10 minutes before everything stiffens up, and then the pain starts coming, and then the risk of headache goes way up. And once the headache triggers, it triggers due to the stiffness going on in my neck, because none of this is correct. I mean, the tissue is all messed up, and the headaches trigger way too easily. And so 5 to 10 minutes of working on anything, and I have to be careful. I have to do what I'm doing now. I have to lay on a foam roller, or I'm using the Denerol here on my back as I sit. This is pushing into my mid back, and it's holding me more upright and preventing me from curling more and more and more, because it naturally wants to do that. It gets stiffer and stiffer, and then it's harder for me to get it back. So, and that's when all the headaches start coming. So I still have lots of pain all throughout my legs and my everything, low back, glutes. My neck is not correct. It's not holding me correct. My range of motion is good. It looks good, but it's in there. The trauma to my nerve is in there. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm assuming that it's a C5, C6 nerve on the right side that is irritated 24/7. It doesn't go away. There's no relief, and all my tissue is kind of stuck in trauma mode. And I have weakness and instability in my muscles. And I have a disc injury at L5S1 that has weakness in my hips, pelvis, legs, feet, and pain, lots of pain. And the pain and stiffness keeps traveling. Every time I stretch something, it kind of moves to a different spot, and then it comes back. And I'm just constantly doing this little, okay, who needs attention the most today, and working on that. But all right, here's another example of instability. So depending on the position I hold my leg in, I have this, it's uncontrollable shaking here, right there. I go right. Yeah, I mean, it's not supposed to do this ideally, but I have, multiple spots where that happens. Sorry, it's kind of funny, but I don't have a loss of hope at all. I don't feel like it's impossible to solve this problem. I think it's the way everything is set up system-wise. it's going to be very difficult to figure this out because the resources that are there are very weak and inadequate, and they actually work against the patient. They don't try to help the patient. They actually try to kind of stand in your way. No, it doesn't work like that. We have to follow a protocol. And I'm like, yeah, but the protocol sucks. I mean, it doesn't help people. It's not designed to help people. It's designed to protect you against lawsuits, which means that you're just worried about failing more than you are succeeding, which means you have social anxiety disorder, which means, you shouldn't be in the business because there is no alternate to the medical field. I can't get this type of help or access to equipment anywhere else. You have the equipment. I don't have an MRI machine in my house that I can play around with and do different diagnostic checks. If I had one, I'd be trying every little thing. I'd be trying different angles to get better view. I'd be doing standing MRIs. I'd be doing, I'd look at everything. I tried to get an MRI of my mid back and they didn't want to give it to me because that's not their protocol. They only do one section at a time. So they only gave me the cervical MRI, and I had to go to a different network, a different provider, and complain about my low back. And then they sent me to a neurologist, and he was able to order an MRI of my low back. So I got the lumbar MRI and the cervical MRI, but still no thoracic MRI, which I would like to see because, hey, my whole body hurts. Why not look at everything to make, try to figure out what's happening? But they didn't want to give it to me unless I find a third provider and complain about my mid back. I don't know. I mean, they don't try to help you. They don't try to figure out the problem. They follow protocol to the book. And is the protocol good? Does it work? What is the success rate of the protocol? How many people keep going in circles and draining the medical system with wasted time? We have enough doctors, but we don't have quality doctors. They just follow protocols and that's it. Everybody's worried about making a mistake and nobody's actually solving the problem. And that is really bad because there are no alternates. If you are doing your job and you end up with some kind of chronic pain, in my case, it came out of nowhere, so it wasn't like I got injured. It was like I had a long-term injury. I think these are childhood injuries. This is my guess is that these are old childhood traumas that I've been able to live through. My body, has been compensating. It's been, in antalgia and trying to keep me from feeling the pain for a long time. And then finally, postural changes over time, aging and stiffness and all this stuff. Eventually, it got into a bad configuration, and then the real pain began. But this can happen to anybody. It's not a freak thing. This is just, C5, C6, L5S1 are the two most commonly injured spots in our society because everybody is doing rounded forward posture, talking on your phone or tablet or computer, or in your jobs, it's all forward. Nobody stretches backwards. Nobody looks up, or, So if you don't counterbalance that, you might end up with this kind of problem. It just depends on, what kind of falls or injuries you've had growing up in your childhood. If you played sports, contact sports or whatever. It depends on all of these things, whether or not you spend, how much time you spend exercising, all these things. So I was doing my job and coming home and crashing, sleeping, and then going. It wasn't ideal for my body. My job itself was long hours standing on concrete. It was bad for my legs, my low back. All of this takes a toll over time, and the employers, they don't care about your problems. They don't care about your chronic pain. If you have to submit disability paperwork, they don't really, they work against you, like, you don't really need that or whatever. And it's hard to prove something that's chronic. It's not like there was an incident. So if there were incidents, it's easier to show, but it doesn't matter. If you need help, you need help. It doesn't matter how things happen. Our society is not designed to help people. It's designed to claim to help people, but not actually do a good job. And everybody just hopes that something is going to change someday and it's going to get better. But we all have collective intelligence, and we know better. Largely, we know better, and we could do better. And in the age of information, where in communication it shouldn't be hard to zap an email full of information instantly. I mean, to get it from over here to over there, whatever has to be done, it should not be difficult. Things should be improving exponentially with our increased ability to do so. But it's not happening right now. So far, it appears to be dragging, and I see no improvement in sight. So I'm hoping that there is improvement happening. I don't see it, and I'm fighting my own battle, and I'm keeping my own record of this, because hey, I'm not going anywhere. If I'm still alive, I'm still alive. The same thing is true whether whether we fix these problems or not. It becomes abundantly clear how broken things are when you need help and you can't get it. It becomes very clear how bad the protocols are, either from the provider or the insurance companies, or both, or the disability system. I mean, it hasn't changed. The advertising has increased, and the effort to appear to look good is there, but it isn't all that good. There is a lot of scrutiny that needs to be looked at, and overhaul that is needed to make things more efficient and designed for the patient, not for the protection of the provider. You're in the medical business, so do it. You signed up for this game, and people need help, so help them. That's my view. I'm using the Denarol equipment. I'm using some kind of roller. I don't know what it's called. I'm using a regular foam roller as well. I have a lacrosse ball. I have little dumbbells, 2.5 pounds and 5 pounds. Haven't touched the 8-pound ones yet. I'm not there yet. I got physical therapy exercises. I got stretches. I'm listening to my body. I'm stretching I'm trying to get my spine to stretch backwards. I'm using back bridges to try to hit certain areas that I can't get otherwise. It's not ideal, but it's the best I can do. I also have Epsom salt that I take baths um, fairly regularly. I don't know exactly what that does, according to, you know, sources on the internet, including McLaughlin. It helps to pull out the acidity in your tissue. It helps to extract and reduce the acidity, which can cause the acidity itself causes irritation to the nerves. So, keeping things clean and efficient helps speed up recovery. So I have that. Um, it does. It does. I do feel more relaxed after taking an Epsom salt bath. I feel like it does have some effect. So I haven't gotten to the source of the problem. I've gotten some things to adapt. I've gotten some pain to fade. And that's good. And I like seeing that. I just wish I could get to the source of the problem and get it to stop, if only temporarily, just to know that I'm there. I'm in the right area. But it's been 2 years. I have not gotten to it. I have been stuck 24/7 pain. The closest to relief I can get, that is not through medication. It's through a cold bath or shower. I had shiver for 10 minutes or whatever, and freeze my body, and then I get out and I go, oh, that is the closest to normal feeling that I have felt in a long time. And unfortunately, 5-10 minutes later my body warms up again, and you know it just feels the same. So uh but that's the closest I can get to getting the pain to stop. So it's neurological. It's almost certainly the spine. I just don't have absolute confirmation of that. I wish there was a diagnostic procedure that would confirm that. But as far as I know, the only time they do those procedures is before they do a nerve block. um, that's when they actually test the nerve to see if which one is causing your pain, and then they burn the nerve endings so that the sensation of pain is gone, but it doesn't solve the cause of the problem, but it gives you relief. So but I think that diagnostic procedure should be part of the diagnostics. Use it for determining the problem, because people need to know this. Burning the nerves is a shortcut. It's not solving your long-term problem. There's a good chance that the nerves will repair and the pain comes back anyways, but the disc injury, the disc bulge, should be addressed. You know, I can see like where you would say, well, if I'm 60 or above, if I'm age 60 or above, you know, I'm not going to do any real intensive um, body restoration, long term, goal treatments to try to fix the damage to the spine. I'm just trying to get the pain to stop at this point. I can see where there's a difference based on your age in your approach. But these are people's choices. I mean, I wouldn't discriminate against a 60-year-old, because you could still restore function to your spine. It just might take more effort. It might be very difficult, but if you wanted to, you know but you can't have a protocol that is not designed to help people. That's just bad. So hopefully I can make progress on my own. Maybe someday the medical will wake the fuck up and start doing things the right way. But until that happens, I'm on my own, and I'm using the Denarolls. I have a cervical Deneroll, lumbar Deneroll, and I just ordered a thoracic Deneroll. I wasn't going to get one, but I'm finding I'm kind of getting stuck here right around my T1, around in between my shoulder blades. Like, it's hard to get to these areas because your shoulder blades are in the way. You need a smaller foam block to fit in between. And because my neck is not correct, I think I'm going to try to use it. None of this is under the supervision of any chiropractor. I finished my sixth chiropractor, and ideally I would be under, a McLaughlin chiropractic in Florida, but um, the expenses are prohibiting me from doing that. I'd have to relocate, and it would take probably a couple years of care to get my body back. But that's the quickest way to do it, is the ideal care through body work and somebody that understands the spine and knows how to loosen the right parts up. Otherwise, using foam blocks like the Deneroll to stretch your spine and try to get things moving and wake them up is the best kind of care you can come up with. Use gravity and a foam block, and move it around day to day. He told me to move it, maybe 4 different spots on my back, the lumbar Deneroll. Just try to get my body, instead of curving forward, to straighten out, go the other way. So you're just kind of targeting a different spot each day and kind of rotating. Um, these long 20-minute stretches. They're boring. It's extremely boring. I'm trying to listen to my body as it's stretching to see if I can, when does it get to a point where it kind of gives. you know I'm listening. Do I feel the muscle tissue give at all? Because it doesn't want to. It wants to be stiff. So I'm looking for these things, and sometimes I feel them, sometimes they don't. It doesn't. But I figure, getting the stretch, getting the blood flow to that area is helping it, is helping the tissue wake up. It's helping it clean out, and then eventually it starts to give, just by continued effort. Um, is it sufficient to remove the pain? That's a whole other question. Even if I can balance my tissue out better, is it going to remove the pain that's probably at the nerve root of the spine? The McLaughlin method, the theory behind it is rebalancing the spine. Most of the spine is still healthy, but 1, 2, 3 vertebrae, are bearing the load, and they've been abused for a long time. And getting the areas above and below to wake up and help out, and just balancing the spine and getting your ligaments to stretch, and is all helping your posture. which helps your spine, give it some breathing space, get the curves more ideal. And, the body, like I said in the beginning, the body is always trying to repair itself. So maybe it'll help reduce the disc bulges, take pressure off the nerves, and then things start coming back to life. And I should feel that. I mean, it should feel remarkably better. It should feel a lot better because it doesn't feel good at all. So right now, but there's other possibilities like the nerve may just be irritated for other reasons. There may be little bits of vertebrae that is stuck on the nerve and it needs to be cleaned out. This is what I'm researching, on the internet. There's things that could irritate the nerve besides just the tissue or the disc bulge. It could be like parts of the disc have, like your tooth is chipped or something. Parts of the disc have come off and they're just sitting on the nerve and irritating it all the time. That's possible. And then, the surgery fixes that. Cleaning it out might help. Otherwise, they put the spacer in between your discs so that it takes the pressure off manually. But there's no undoing the surgeries, and it may cause other issues. And there's risk there. And the fact that I'm 35 means I'm going to have to live with the body for longer, probably. Unless I get hit by a bus or something. I don't know, whatever. Things happen, life happens, whatever. But 35, so 35, 40 more years on this planet, maybe, on average, we'll say. Is that probably going to have follow-up surgeries and stuff? And is it really a smart idea? But this is why you diagnose. This is why you need to figure out what the problem is so that you can figure out the smartest course of action. You know, physical therapists, they're asking me about vacation plans, they're telling me about this shit. I mean, I can't even the resources are in place, but they are inadequate and the training is weak from the school to the provider and the policies of the provider and the policies of the insurance companies that you have to follow all these rules and it doesn't work. So yeah, it's pretty severely bad and people just suffer needlessly, and like I said, I don't like that. Years of anxiety and determining after all that time that none of this was necessary. There was a lot of fear-based education in my childhood, uh, both at home, on the TV, from the news media, and in the school systems themselves. There was a lot of fear-based education. And it's an accumulation of, holding on to all these possible terrible scenarios doesn't help you. So, you know, adequate training does. Using intelligence to prevent disaster is the way to go. If we know what the bad things, if we know what could go wrong and we know how to prevent it, then everything should be about preventing it. It's a matter of, do we have the intelligence? Do we have the ability? And the answer is yes. And McLaughlin is showing you the ideal example. And that should be, in my view, that should be the baseline going forward. I mean, nobody should be less than the McLaughlin family. Your practice should be based on the same. Now I understand, people like to try different experiment. I'm not saying McLaughlins are perfect. I'm just saying that here's the knowledge, and here's the practice that is designed for long-term care. It's designed ideally. Now people have different needs. They may say, well, my body is getting older. I don't really have I don't really want to try to be 20 again physically. I just want relief of symptoms. And these are people's choices, and that's fine. But you can't have an entire field of weakness that is treating symptoms only, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, when we know better. And we have an example of that, 3 examples of that, or 4 examples of that. People who know better and practice it, and it can be done. So why not? This is what should be taught. But that's not really my concern. I have my own severe chronic pain that I'm trying to overcome. That's my concern. I'll feel a lot better if I can find relief of this pain. If I can get out of this, I will feel a lot better. But until that day comes, I just take it one day at a time. I'm trying not to be hard on myself, try not to get frustrated. I just remind myself of, the strategy that I'm following. I remind myself of the progress that I've already made. I already know this battle because I had to do this for anxiety. The pain, it just sucks. It's hard to carry. But this is the way the body is designed. So if we know how the body works, we should be based off of the engineering, and all the companies that exist, shouldn't be so hard on the body when we know better. We know better. Let the people choose for themselves what they want for themselves. That's what I see. That's what I think it should be. I mean, educate people. Don't waste 13 years of, lower education plus 2, 4, 6, 8 years of higher education on stuff that is not really that useful to begin with. I mean, not forced anyways. People can choose what they want to know and what they want to pursue. It's almost unbelievable that things are this sloppy and bad. And it's really a game of appearances than actually doing the work. And most people are, I see the world as a bunch of people stuck in antalgia, whether that's physical or mental or whatever. It's all antalgic behavior. These are capable, intelligent individuals who don't know what to do with their energy, and they are trying to avoid pain. That is what I see. So it's a matter of cleaning up the problems and helping people be aware of what is changing, and you know, letting people decide for themselves, and letting people help out, and connecting communities, um, and then in a relatively short period of time, we take a level up as a whole, as a a collective evolution, a collective level up. Um, it sucks, for people that have no other way. I mean, you're born into it, or something happens to you, and I mean, these are really sad things. These are very tragic things. And you know that we are better than this, and it should not be this way. And that's why we have to make it better. But, anyways, I could go on about this, but I have to get back to stretching and strengthening and stabilizing and getting out of hell, because I don't like it. I don't like it. That's why. Because I don't like it. I don't want to be in hell. I don't want the pain. That's why. That's why I do so. The reasons, because I don't want it. I don't want to be in pain. That's why. Okay. That's my 2/6/24 update. Sure, I'll have another one before the court date, so I'll see you next time.